All right, everyone, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best of New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. You can smell it in the air. The Denver game is right around the corner. We still got to go through some of the minutia of the last preseason game and the joint practices with the Pats. I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about the Belichick coaching tree and where Joe Judge is falling on it, because the Belichick coaching tree is kind of barren of fruit and always has been, and it's gotten worse recently. But I want to talk about these joint practices. You guys, you could read into them what you want. I wouldn't read anything into them. It is what it is. I've always said this a million times. I look at games and even preseason games to see how a gentleman or a player performs. Yes, you could be there's been plenty of practice warriors who, turned into, it's like I said, there's plenty of Tarzan practice guys who turn to Jane on Sunday. Just saying that. Because then if you look at it, everyone's going to get worried about Daniel Jones. He looked good early on, and I think it was on the 7-on-7 drills, and then he kind of was outshined by Mac Jones. I'm not going to take anything from that right now. It's the same thing with David Sills, the venerable David Sills, who everyone loves. He couldn't get open in the joint practices against the Browns. I'm not hearing anything against what he's doing against the Pats. But he looked good against the third-teamers and grocery baggers in the preseason game. So it is what it is. Dory Jackson, of course, was carted off the field, I think, more as a precaution for the ankle. We'll see what happens on week 1. If he comes back on week 1, it's a non-story. Kyle Rudolph was removed from the PUP. They're still not committal if he'll be able to play starting week 1 against the Broncos. Of course, Teddy Bridgewater is also going to be the starting quarterback for the Broncos. I would feel better if Drew Lock was. Teddy Bridgewater, to me, is why he's not dynamic. He is professional and knows how to move the ball and knows how to lead his team. In my mind, he is a game manager, but he offers a little bit more than that. But I want to talk about the Belichick coaching tree. The Belichick coaching tree at times has kind of been, I'm not even going to say it's kind of been hit or miss. The Belichick coaching tree has been horrid. If you take a look going back to November of 2020, his former assistants have a combined record of 208 and 296 and 1 for a winning percentage of .413. That's pretty bad. And if you take a look at who was on this tree, you go back to Al Groh. Al Groh had the one winning season with the Jets, and his only one when he was 9-7. And then of course he went over to Virginia, his alma mater, to coach. He served as the linebacker coach under Belichick in Cleveland in '92. And then he was a defensive coordinator. He was also defensive coordinator under Parcells, but I would say he's more of a Belichick guy. He didn't resign with the Jets, like I said, to take the job at Virginia. So, funny enough, people don't know this. Nick Saban, who I worked the season under, had a 15-7 record between 2005 and 2006. Of course, greatest football coach ever in college, I think, one of those. He had a 2-year stint. Most people don't remember that he had 4 years he spent as Belichick's defensive coordinator with the Browns in the 90s. Most people don't remember that. So he flamed out. I mean, he's good in the college ranks, but he flamed out in the pros. And a lot of college coaches do that. Steve Spurrier was one of those guys. Steve Spurrier, man, used to crack me up. I've met Steve Spurrier a bunch of times. He's just a good old boy. Especially, I never met him in Florida. I met him when he was at South Carolina. He would even say he would love to spend more time playing golf than he would like to game plan. So also on that tree is Romeo Crennel. He went to Cleveland from 2005 2008. He was 24-40. Kansas City Chiefs, he was 4-15. Houston Texans, he was 4-3. 5-time Super Bowl champion, of course. He's one of the oldest head coaches in history when he took over for Bill O'Brien in 2020 at the age of 73. Again, he worked with Belichick and has a coaching record of 26-54. Then you got the venerable Eric Mangini. He was with the Jets, went 23-25. How he got the job with the Browns and went 10-22, I have no idea. We all know with Belichick. Yeah, he succeeded Romeo Crennel twice versus the defensive coordinator with the Pats. And then, he did with the head coach. He's worked, he coached with Belichick on the Browns, the Jets, and the Patriots. They kind of had a close relationship, but after Spygate in 2007, they never really, their relationships kind of cooled off. But again, his coaching record is is again not acceptable. You also have the venerable Jim Schwartz, who of course had the enviable task of going to Detroit Lions. from 2009 to 13. He was 29-51. He got his first job in the NFL as a scout under Belichick. That was back in 93. And like I said, he's just another guy. He was a defensive coordinator, of course, when the Eagles knocked off the Pats, so maybe that's why Judge doesn't like him anymore. But again, another Belichick guy, didn't become anything as a head coach. Then you got Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels' experiment in Cleveland, with Denver was just a mess. He was 11-17. He had the whole team, Tim Tebow fiasco. So then the offensive coordinator forever for the venerable coach. And then you got Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien is one of the few that have a winning record at 52-48. He had 5 seasons under Belichick. And then he went to Penn State. I think he should have just stayed at Penn State. He should have just stayed at Happy Valley. He will always be remembered as head coach at trade away DeAndre Hopkins. But again, he has the best record out of everyone. You got Matt Patricia, who took over for the Lions again. He went 13-29-1. I actually wanted the Giants to go after Patricia. But again, another failed Belichick guy. Brian Flores right now seems to be the only guy that may potentially have an opportunity to do anything. He was 15 seasons with New England. I think he was 11-15 so far in Miami. He seems to be turning the corner with that team. And then you got, of course, Joe Judge. Joe Judge, 6-10, first season. Special teams, basically a special team coach in his entire career. Belichick gave him the title of wide receivers coach because of the fact that he thought that would be better for him or helped him get a job as a head coach in the NFL. That's why he gave him that title. Is he going to? If you go by the history of the tree is dead. The tree is barren. The tree is dried up. Someone put some poison at the bottom of the tree and killed it. Does that mean that's going to happen to Joe Judge? I don't think so. I think there's always that flower that blooms, that comes out of the minutia, that rises above. Is that going to be Brian Flores? Is that going to be Joe Judge? I don't know. We have to wait and see. I'm just pointing out the fact that the coaching tree from Bill Belichick is not what I refer to as stellar. When you take a look at, like I said, if you have a winning record, you don't even have a winning record. Some of these coaches like flamed out spectacularly. That's my thing. But if you're like 208 and 296-1, that's not a good record. And you look at some of these other guys, like Bill Walsh's coaching tree and Mike Holmgren, George Seifert, Marty Schottenheimer, Bill Cowher, Tony Dungy. Bill Parcells' coaching tree was Belichick, Peyton, Coughlin. I'm not saying anything. I've pointed this out when we hired him. You got to hope Joe Judge turns it all around, because if not, it's going to be another long-ass season. You got to hope that Daniel Jones does what he does. Hey, I got a bone to pick with Rich Eisen. I guess he's on ESPN on the radio. I got a bunch of messages yesterday from people saying, Rich Eisen stole your shtick. I said, what do you mean you stole my shtick? He said the Giants are a team of ifs. If this happens, and if they do that, and if you do this, and if they do that, then they might make the playoffs. People are like, you said that months ago. I don't think Rich Eisen stole anything from me, guys, but I appreciate you giving me the credit for it. I really do. I think that's awesome. And if he did steal it from me, that would be even more awesome, because I could be like, whoa, Rich Eisen listens to me, but he doesn't. He didn't steal anything from me. I appreciate it. Of course, we're also going to be doing the NFL Giants Truck Talk Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, going over the game, the preseason game, so getting ready for the season. Hopefully we'll also be able to, I think we're going to go to the game. I have tickets. It's just my son's got school on the following day, and it's a 6:00 start, and we're still about an hour away. So, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult to do, but maybe we'll go for early and go for a couple hours and hang out in the coaches club for a little bit. So, hopefully, like I said, guys, we got to get pumped up for the Broncos, man. So we got to do. We got to get this ready. We got to get our stuff ready. We got to get our gear ready. We got to make sure that we have the team. Hopefully, like I said, I'm curious to see what happens after the 53-man roster is set, and I'm curious to see who we pick up on the waiver wire. And I've said this before, if you're guy 53, 52, 51, and 50 on the roster, don't get comfortable till after cut down day, because you may not be with the team, because that always happens. So, but again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in here at Giant Sports Talk and Entertainment. And as always, if you could subscribe, ring the play tune, that means that'd be awesome.